Hello, and welcome to the next episode or installment of making a wrap apron. Sorry, I'm trying to thread my machine. Hi, welcome. So we're in this series. We are I already laid out and cut. And now I'm going to modify a little bit the wrap apron design because I want to update it to improve it from what I had done with it before. And so the design that I had, like I mentioned in the past, was one that I downloaded from the internet, and it was for a smaller person, much smaller person. So I had to enlarge it. What we did was we took some fabric, an old sheet, and cut the actual fabric to size, then draped it. I used Larry as a model. I basted it together, made a larger version, and increased it where I needed to, and now I have my own pattern pieces. And so from those pattern pieces, I put them down on this light canvas or duck. It's cotton duck, and it may be a cotton poly blend, I'm not really sure. It does wash up very nicely. It's just a medium weight. It's not real heavy. And cut the two. There's only 2 pattern pieces so far, and there will be 3 pattern pieces total because I'm going to have a pocket here that I'm going to be adding to it. And I think I may, and I'm not sure, I think I'm going to add this. I had this idea from one of the potters that I've seen online. I think I may do it. I'm definitely doing a split, so I've got to modify the pattern. But on the split, I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm actually going to sew towel, because these can be washed very nicely. They wash very well, soften up over time and everything. I think I'm going to, because pottery is you're needing to wipe your hands significantly, and just wiping it on your apron works somewhat. But I was thinking about taking hand towels, like old hand towels, and actually sewing them onto the legs. What a neat idea, right? So you just throw the whole thing into the wash all together. Then you have a supplemental towel, obviously, that you're going to use for like bigger wipe ups and stuff like that. But at least then you're wiping your hands, drying your hands, so you can pick up pieces off of the wheel. So one of the modifications to the original pattern, so we'll see, that may be yet another pattern piece that I will do, and I'll just write on it what it is, and then it's easy, and I'll just make it so that it can be used by like any cheap hand towel, inexpensive hand towel, like a dish towel, something like that, something that's real absorbent, like, you know, a terry cloth type of thing. So what I do want to do is I want to do the split, however, the leg split, because when you're sitting at a wheel, at a pottery wheel, you're in as close to it as you can. And right now, when I sit at the pottery wheel, my apron comes up and my legs are completely uncovered. And one of the purposes of having an apron is not just to cover you here, but like to keep you from getting completely covered in clay. So I have marked, what I did was in order to find this mark, or at least a semblance of where I want it, I literally just put it on myself. So I've got it here. I know that the neck is it comes about here when I do the wrap around. It does wrap, so you have to get in, and it sort of crisscross wraps, crisscross applesauce. So I want it to come down over my belly and to go high enough so that it'll split well on both legs, but not so high that I suddenly have like total crotch exposure, if you will. Because then I'm just gonna have a wet crotch, which is not ideal. So I do want coverage, but I also want roominess and flexibility. So I did it up this far. Oh, and what I need to do is transfer that to my pattern piece. This is one pattern piece. Where's my other pattern piece? Uh-oh. And here's my other pattern piece. So this is the pattern piece for the sides. Cross apron, no, this is the front. That's the sides. This is this front piece. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lay this on here, and I am going to need to have it going the correct direction so that I write everything on the same side of the pattern piece. Otherwise it doesn't really help. So now I'm just updating my pattern piece. Real quick, this is the edge right here that goes on the fold. So there's one solid piece in the center. And then I am going to mark on here with my Sharpie, my marker, a large mark. And what shall I say? This is the split. And so I'm putting a large horizontal line, and then I'm going to put an arrow down, split. So I wrote on it leg split, cut, and I've got an arrow going down. So it means that I go to here, from here, which is where I have my pen, that I'm going to cut the edge, cut fold. Alrighty, there we go. So now the next time I do this, I know what I need to do in order to have that fold cut, at least for this size of the pattern, which is me, Lee, and Larry size of the pattern. I know what to do. Now, when I fold my pattern pieces, just FYI, I have found over the many years that I've done it this way and created my own patterns, and from other people's suggestions, friends of mine who are also sewers. I always fold my patterns so that my title of my, or the whatever it is that my pattern piece is, shows. Now that may seem very, very obvious, but trust me, it's not as obvious as you would think. I used to fold them where you couldn't see like what the actual pattern title was, or what the pattern was for. And it's such a pain in the ass because you're looking at all these pieces of fabric. And I have done it where I've been like, oh, that's just scrap fabric, and gotten rid of it, which is a really bad idea. So you want your writing to be on the outside. And then what I also do is I keep my patterns together just simply by pinning them together. So I have a, good Lord, Larry, you doing okay? Yeah. We're both getting over COVID, so that's a joy. Got this residual. So then I pin them together. I wrote on it, piece 2 of 2, piece 1 of 2, boom. All right, and then I'll update that. When I do have the pocket pieces, I'll put that on top of there and I'll write 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing set in stone. So I do have this crease from folding it. It doesn't have to be exact. It is an apron. I'm not selling this. If I were to sell these, which a friend of mine actually makes these, and she does them gorgeously. It's where I got inspired. I did not come up with this idea. I do know that I hate, or not hate, that's a very strong, I incredibly strongly almost hate, I incredibly strongly dislike aprons that come up around my neck. It's very cold down here. So what I'm going to do is, though, the next step is to actually put together my pieces, to sew them. And then I'm going to grab my serger and I'm going to serge the edge all the way around, because then I'm going to fold the edge all the way around and pop that piece there. And then I'm going to fold, and the, I'm going to fold the edge over and then do a seam, just a folded edge with the serged edge. So it's going to just finish the edge. So it's not just a serged edge. I can just leave the serged edge as the edge, which I did on the ones that I use, and I may just do that. So this is my pattern. All right, so now I got to remember how in the world to attach my pieces, right? So it's a crossover. Of course, I don't have my instructions with me because that would make everything way too much easier. Much easier than it should be. And I know that I attach the sides as the sides. So that's my number one thing to do. Let me see if I have an inside and outside of this fabric. I do. I want to put like sides together. So if it's an inside, feels like this may be actually It's really hard to tell with this fabric. There's very little difference. It's a little bit of a, this is not as clean of a weave, significant of a texture. All right, so breaking out the glasses. Oh, there we go. I can actually see the texture better. There we go. So this is non-textured side. This is, I wonder if the other piece will match it better. One has more of a sheen than the other. This is a matte, sort of a matte side to it. My pieces are going up this way. And yeah, these two will work together. And then if those two work together, they work together. So these straight edges that I cut are going to go together. They are going to be sewn together. You'll notice that my my corner is not exactly the way that it goes together, but I'll just trim that out. That's just from the way I designed it. And here we go. Now I don't pin as I sew fabric like this. I don't really need to. I don't feel the need to. You may want to. This is under the arm, okay? This is the side, this is under the arm. This strap is going to be coming over to the other side. So, and I have writing, so this is good. This is the wrong side of the fabric. It's going to be the inside or underside of it. I'm just going to go ahead and sew. Now, question for you is, what happens if you don't have a serger? Let's turn our machine on. Oh God, this is such the machine is just filthy. What if you don't have a serger? It's a very, very good question, right? Since I'm serging it together, I'm really just doing a long stitch on here, and it's just going to be a straight stitch to keep it all together. I could just go around and just serge them together, but I do like to sew them together before I serge them. All I'm going to do is, with my fabric, I'm going to hold one hand in the sewing machine. Oh my God, these glasses are hilarious. Hold it in the machine on the fabric itself to keep my two pieces together. And my right hand, as I'm feeding, and it has to be feeding this way just because of the nature of a sewing machine, my right hand is what's going to be keeping those two pieces together and my edge together. Like I said, I'm going to be serging it, so it doesn't have to be exact. But the question, there we go. All right, maybe a little funky. We'll see how. Oh, and something's going on with my bobbin. All right, good to do this on camera. All right, that totally like chewed up what is going on with my bobbin was all like not quite settled because I had taken it off, and I've got two pieces of thread coming up and around. Here we go. I'm just going to pop my bobbin back in. This is a Singer sewing machine. Not my favorite sewing machine in the world. I've had it for quite a while, actually probably 15 years. And I replaced a fully mechanical one. This is a partially digital one, partially computerized one. I'm not a big fan of it. I liked my fully mechanical, but had problems getting it serviced, and the zigzag stitch, which I use a lot, was crapping out on me. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get a new sewing machine, a better sewing machine. And then I found out just how, you know, trying to find sewing machine repair companies, it's very, very difficult anymore. And I should have just kept that one, but it is what it is. There we go. Oh, something's going on with this. Why is my thread so tight? All right, let's go back to auto. I'm using an actual spool of thread, like a serger spool. Oh, something is wrong with my, oh my God. Okay, well this is brand new. I just used this machine and had no issues with it. And my bobbin holder is having a meltdown. It's not being held in place correctly. I don't know why it's jumping around. I'm going to give it one more try, and if it doesn't work, then I'll move over to the serger. And I'll just use the serger instead. So this is very disturbing. But anyway, so it doesn't feel right. Something's going on with the bobbin on this thing. Yep. Completely messed up. Well, that's a bummer. That's my... Alright, let's try restringing it from the top, because maybe I got it around the wrong side of it. Let's see. It's entirely possible. So rethreading from the front. I have this really nice little... One of the things I do like on this is I don't have to actually get the thread through the needle myself. It has one of those automatic little buggers that... Oh, there we go. Alright. That actually threads. Good Lord, look at that. What a mess. This is fun that you get to watch what happens when a sewing machine is totally crapping out. It may very well, like I said, it may very well be that I threaded the top wrong. It was very dark before I got on it. Oh, that's what it was. So, troubleshooting is always a happy thing, right? Don't give up on it until you try a few different options for trying to fix it. So, coming back to the question of what do you do if you don't have a serger? For a very long time I didn't have a serger. I have an old, very manual, very mechanical baby lock serger that has, let me tell you, it's made a lot of different items. It has made probably 100 different retro tote bags out of very heavy materials, and that includes the handles and everything else. I serge pretty much everything. Okay. A serger is an overlock machine. If you don't know what a serger actually is, a lot of people don't. If you're not a sewer, you may have maybe heard it, serged edge, something like that, or not. If you don't know what it is, it takes multiple, 4 in my case. I can use 2, 3, or 4 different threads, different spools of thread. They all mount on the machine. You'll see it because I'll be using it probably later on in this episode, because I think I'm about to use it. And because this is going fast now. And it overlocks the edge. So what it does is it makes it so that your fabric, the edge of your cut edge of the fabric, does not fray, because it literally locks over the edge of a fabric, dunk, 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 and it has an interlock, what do you call it? Stitch, straight stitch that goes along the bottom of it. Okay. So, see my left hand pulling it out? I'm not pulling. It looks like I'm pulling. I am not pulling. If you pull, you will totally screw up your sewing. I learned that earlier on, because you're stretching the material. If you're stretching the material and you're not wanting to make it into gathered, you are going to mess up your stitching. So what I'm doing is I'm guiding it from the front and the back so that I have a nice, very straight seam. My sewing scissors need to be professionally, or I could do them myself, I think, sharpened. They're good sewing machine, the sewing shears. They're expensive ones. They're like $100 when I got them. Long time ago. Long time ago. So now what I'm doing is, so this is the apron, right? Okay? Blah, blah. These are the shoulder straps. The trick to this, it's a crossover. So if you think it's a crossover, this is the armhole. This is what goes across my neck. So on the same side, I'm going to cross over on the neck, and I'm attaching it to the opposite side of the neck. Now, the trick to this is to make sure that all your fabric is the same direction. So I take flat, completely flat. See? Outside is outside, inside is inside. You see that? and I just fold it back the way I had it and sew it together that way. Now, the first time I did this, I wasn't paying attention for my second strap. I had to tear it out. Not a big deal with, canvas. It's like just and you're done. But I was just like, oh my God, what did I do? I put it on flipped. I flipped my fabric. I just wasn't paying attention. Not a big deal, but just to save yourself a little bit of a headache. Oh, come on. I'm going to go over that twice. Bingo, bango. And that's done. Well, 3 times really. Twice forward, 1 time backward. So I went forward, fed it through, I backed up, went reverse on the exact same path, and then fed it through again, and then I'm done. That reinforces those shoulders. So now with the other side, I do the same thing. I bring it in, fold it down, just like, see, this is how I put it together, right? I pay attention to what direction my fabrics are going this time around, and I lay this directly on that neck, okay? So this is where my head is gonna go, is in between, and this is around my neck. And I'm just going to sew that together. So that's the easy way to keep track of what surface goes to which surface. If you have a pattern that you're working with and you put pattern to pattern, right side to right side, it's even easier because you can tell, because the pattern normally on one side of the fabric will be, especially if it's a printed pattern, one side will be dark and the other side will be lighter. So this is going to be, you're putting the dark sides together and the light sides are facing up in this case. So right side is the dark side of the print of the pattern. Wrong side is the lighter side. So here's a magical moment. Are you ready for this? We're going to turn it right side out. Right side out. Out. And we magically have a crossover apron. Isn't that cool? Now the question is, so ta-da, crossover. It literally crosses over. How the heck do you get in and out of this thing, right? When we first did them, it was like a super challenge because we were like, I got one side in and the other side's like all screwed up. So all I do is I cross them. I make it so that it looks like how I'm going to be putting it on. I make a cross of the 2 pieces. These are the 2 shoulder pieces. They're crossing across my back. This is my head hole. I know that's where my head is going to go. And I take them and I put it on just like that, right? So then I can just put my hands up through the armholes, stand up, and I magically have an apron that fits me wonderfully well. See? Isn't that cool? It's so simple. I mean, yeah, I look like, I'm Omar the tent maker. As it gets softer, it gets better. And as if you use a pretty fabric, it'd be really nice. But it's a wonderful, wonderful type of design for working on pottery, or if you're working on anything like a garden. If you're working in the garden, you don't want to be a complete mess and dirty. You just throw it on, hang it up when you're done. You don't have any things to tie. You don't have to worry about tying it around your neck or having a strap around your neck or doing any sort of things like that. None of that rigmarole. You literally just have a crossover apron. So now I have a crossover apron. Huzzah! But I have all of these really rough edges. So what am I going to do? I'm going to serge them. I've got just a little bit of a time here. I'm taking down my sewing machine and I'm going to bring up my serger, which is already threaded, thank goodness. Take my spool of thread off. Pop this down on the floor next to my sewing table. Out of the way. Grab my serger, which is right next to it, on the floor. And here we go. Here's my serger. Whoops. Little telescoping action going on there. and my pedals for my serger are right over here. I'll be right back. I have my pedal and my power cord. So this is good old school, heavy duty, no plastic, like hardcore metal. Yeah. The power cord and the pedal cord are actually on the same, they were combined. They're in one plug for these. They go together like this. They're made so that you can only put them in one way, which is a good thing because you don't want to be putting power through the pedal. I've got a plug that's right here. Isn't this fun to watch? And bada bing, bada boom, I've got my serger. Now, I've already got it threaded. Like I said, it's got 4 spools. Ta-da. All right. This is the front of the serger. It's got a blade right here that's going to cut my fabric as I go. This is the interlock that's left behind. These are all of the tension dials that I have on it for the thread as it comes through. They are color coded so that when you look on the inside of the serger for threading, it has a threading diagram right there. Thank goodness, because you know I got it. I don't know. I bought it online. This is the tension dial, and you just these little colored dots that walk you through how to use it. So this has always been a little janky. It's supposed to have, I think, a screw in the bottom that attaches it to it, but it works just fine for me. One of the beauties of this is it doesn't have an LED light. On my other sewing machine that I just had out, it has an LED light. Well, it's when LED first came out, and the LED light on it sucks. It's terrible. It's like totally dim. The new ones have these fabulous bright lights. Mine does not. So my pattern is a little janky, right? Around the corner, I've got this weird thing going on. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I do need to just sort of edit the what do you call it? The pattern a little bit, but I'm not going to do that right now because I'm in the middle and I'm excited to get sewing. I'm going to just modify this on both sides equally. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it. I'm lining up both pieces, or both, all 3 pieces, the 2 sides and the front. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of eyeball a new line so that it is this circle. What I'm going to do with the new with the pattern pieces, I'm going to make this match my side piece, because when I expanded them, I didn't match them up. So now what I've got to do, because I'm stuck with the arc that I have in this fabric, I'm actually going to go from this spot here that's meeting so far up, and I'm just going to draw myself a new line. I don't eyeball while I'm cutting because I've gotten myself in trouble for that in the past. I'm just going to draw a new line for myself, then I'll cut it. So I don't recommend that you just cut, because I've gotten myself in such bad trouble doing it that way. And both of the pieces the side pieces are together, so they pretty much match. Bango, I'm done with that. Since I'm serging the edges, I need to figure out a place to start, right? So I have the split in the middle. I'm going to start at the edge of the split. It's always good to start on like a hard edge. All right, so I'm going to do that in the next recording, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And take a big breath in. That feels good. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. We got it sewn together, and the next one is to serge the whole edge. Then I'll be going over ironing that edge over, and then coming back with the sewing machine and sewing that edge down. Then we're going to work with and play with where the pocket is going to be. I want to have a divided pocket so that my tools can go in, because it's for a specific thing. If you're doing an apron for this exact same apron, you cannot have the split, and you can do it for gardening. The split actually would work for gardening as well. But with gardening, I would put pockets down on the legs for my gardening tools, or maybe even on the sides. Make divided pockets so I can put a few tools in, and keep them on me, keep them with me. All right, so have a wonderful day. Put a lot of love out there and give yourself lots of space. We all make mistakes all the time, and just you're not immune to making mistakes, and no one else is either. So let's learn from them. They can be exciting. They can really suck, and it's hard to admit that you made a mistake. But if you treat it as okay, I screwed up. Now, what do I learn from that? Then it makes making a mistake a lot less scary and a lot less overwhelming, okay? And that way you'll make them and you'll go, okay, learning experience, let's not do it that way again. Try a different way to do it, all right? So I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.